One of the things that we have struggled with in West Indies cricket in the past, we get to under-19 level and we see a real set of talented youngsters play at like an under-19 World Cup, and we see these youngsters perform at the world stage at under-19, and then we tend to have a bit of a missing gap. What are the key ingredients that are needed to help the development of a young player from going from being an exciting talent to actually holding it at senior level?
For me, the first thing when it comes to identification of talent, I always look at so for the academy boys going forward, what we are planning is for them to have their own, wherever he is, whether he's with the senior team or the A team or the academy team or the coaches that they work with, we are all working towards a same plan, an alignment and a cohesive approach.
Prior to taking this job, what made you attracted to the West Indies job?
I'll tell you how it happened. So it was actually when I saw that, I genuinely thought I could add value to cricket in West Indies.
This is a controversial one I'm going to ask you. So you can play it with a straight bat if you must.
It's a great question. Ready or to become successful is two different things.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another special edition of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. We are live here in Stormont, Belfast, scene of Ireland's emerging side. They say emerging, it's actually their test side, versus the West Indies Academy. And I'm here with the Academy head coach, Ramesh Subasinghe. It's fantastic to have you here, fantastic to have a conversation. At the time of this particular conversation, West Indies Academy are currently 148 for 3. I think the deficit possibly around 100 runs at this particular point in time. It's been a long tour. It's been a short time, but it feels like it's been a long tour. 3 50-over games, 2 4-day games. And I guess first things first, before we even delve into your role and what you've learned in the kind of 2-3 months you've been in the role, how has this tour been first and foremost?
The tour has been a really good learning experience for our young cricketers here, because some of them it's their first time touring overseas as well, and to come here to Ireland, different conditions, they have to adjust to the climate, and short tour, so it's a quick turnaround as well between each game. So it's been quite a challenging one, but a lot of positives. Results haven't gone the way that we would have liked it to, but in terms of the learnings we've taken so far, talking to most of the boys, that's been really good, and lot to look forward to in future with this group of players.
I think let's start with the immediate of where we are right now and what's going on as we look out the windows at this stage of the game. We're just coming up to tea time on day 3 of this particular 4-day match. The wind is howling, it's tipping down, there may be no more play for the rest of this day. Just how difficult, and I'm sure I could ask the players themselves, but how difficult is it for a player who essentially has been raised within the Caribbean, whichever particular nation, island, that style of game, that more importantly, that style of weather, and coming over to then try and adapt to, I guess, the moving ball in Ireland as well as what feels like sub-zero temperatures?
It is quite cold out there, probably. Unfortunately, it's their summer here. So, but if you think about from a positive spin, think of these guys someday representing West Indies in Ireland, and they have had the exposure to these conditions, this weather. So, I mean, England will be the same, and where we will play a lot of matches against. So, I think it's a great learning. It's about how they can adapt to it, and one thing with the cold, you got to embrace the cold. So, and then it feels less cold. So boys been doing it, and I know it's not easy, especially the second day we played a game and it was 5 degrees at one point. But boys tried their best there as well, and now they're getting used to it. You could see a few of them in this weather as well with a singlet on. So they are getting used to it. The more we stay, more we get climatized.
Listen, I've lived a lot of my time in the UK and I don't have a singlet on, so well done to anyone. Well done to anyone who's trying to brave that weather. But listen, this is your kind of first tour with the team. Back home in the Caribbean and amongst the kind of diaspora fans who follow the West Indies closely, like ourselves, there's a lot of talented youngsters in this team. We saw a couple of years ago that the academy side acquitted themselves really well when they got a chance to play some first class cricket in the best versus best setup in the regionals tournament. The academy side has played in Super 50, the List A tournament. Again, this year they had the opportunity to play all 7 rounds of the first class tournament. So it feels like in the for the cricket aficionados in the region that we've seen a lot of these youngsters possibly, and this is due to the academy, get established senior experience before they otherwise might have done through the franchise system. So first things first, from your perspective coming in and seeing the kind of raw talent on show, how good is it?
I think it's a fantastic program, the academy, and the best thing is that these players actually get to play first class cricket and List A cricket, but none of the academies in the world has that chance. So I think these players are very fortunate. The initiative by Cricket West Indies to be able to play against the best domestic players in West Indies. And so any performances that they do is the best level that you could play. So the academy becomes a genuine chance for you to pursue high aspirations and to develop as cricketers. So I think it's a fantastic program, and it is a holistic program. So it's not just the cricketer. We want to improve the person as well, and to find a identity outside cricket. So that is part of developing the whole person. So we are at the moment planning long term with all the holistic skill development programs at the moment, and I think it's a fantastic initiative.
Let's talk on you on a personal level, because obviously prior to taking this job, you had been working out in New Zealand. So part of the New Zealand kind of talent development pathway, Otago cricket as well. So you have extensive experience in working with the kind of age group talent identification system. What are the key criteria in bridging the gap? And the reason why I focus on that is I think one of the things that we have struggled with in West Indies cricket in the past, and hopefully not in the future, is we get to under 19 level and we see a real set of talented youngsters play at like an under 19 World Cup. Alzari Joseph came through there, Jaden Seals came through there. More recently, we've just seen Nathan Seeley play at the under 19. Jewel Andrew played at the recent under 19 World Cup. And we see these youngsters perform at the world stage at under 19. And then we tend to have a bit of a missing gap between 19 to about 25, 24, which probably was why the academy was set up in essence. But based on your work elsewhere, what are the key ingredients that are needed to help the development of a young player from going from being an exciting talent at age group level to actually honing it at senior level?
Yeah, so for me, the first thing when it comes to identification of talent, I always look at the character of the player. So the character is so important, because we know when we watch our under 19 Future Stars tournament, everyone over there is probably the best players in their countries. However, the higher level you go, the character becomes so important, willingness to learn, how coachable you are, and how's your other personal skills as well, together with cricket. And so from there, that will be the first point of identifying the right talent. And then after that, the higher the level you go from outside under 19s, we need to have a targeted approach. So we need to have a very robust talent identification strategy, tying in with Cricket West Indies succession plans in 2 years, in 5 years. So then we can actually have a very targeted approach to development of these young talents. So that will be probably how I would see it, and from the experiences I've had before, that's what I've seen and what I've learned as well. So it's important that we have long-term plans, but it's also important we identify the right player with the right character, so we can help their development and give them a long rope instead of a short one.
How important is it for you to have oversight, I think that's the word I want to use, of the players when they're not with you? So I'll give an example. So Jewel Andrew will leave the academy, for example. Next time he plays some regional men's senior cricket, he will be in the Leeward Islands setup because he's good enough to be within their setup, and he's already been selected by Leeward Islands, so they clearly value him. That means that there will be times when he's not with the academy, with a senior side. There'll be some players who aren't with a senior side, if that makes sense, when they're away from the academy, because maybe they're not part of the chosen 20 or whatever it might be. How do you manage that kind of disparate, divided approach where some are clearly in a setup outside of your eyes and some aren't, and therefore may need a more hands-on approach?
Are you talking about the ones who are in the academy?
In the academy, but not necessarily in their franchise.
Right. So for the academy boys, going forward, what we are planning is for them to have their own support network around them in their local franchises, or the territorial boards. So it's great when they come to an academy environment. You get all the support that they can get, but it's also very important that they receive that support. It might be in a smaller scale, but it's very important that they receive that support locally as well. So then our connection to the local people becomes so important, and we are all working towards one plan. So if we agree, this players, for example, this is let's say, for example, a player that we take, this is going to be his 12-month plan. Wherever he is, whether he's with the senior team or the A team or the academy team or in his local franchise or the coaches that they work with, we are all working towards a same plan, an alignment and a cohesive approach to develop the talent.
This is a controversial one I'm going to ask you. So you can play it with a straight bat if you must. But, based on your kind of world experience of working with academy type players, when is a player ready to play senior cricket? By senior, I mean international. Now, I could answer that in any sport. To be fair, I could answer about football, could answer about rugby, whatever it might be. We just so happen to be talking about cricket. What have you noticed about the characteristics a player should have for when they should play senior cricket? So in fairness, we're not talking about our current academy players, we're talking in general. What do you notice are the successful characteristics a player has that generally indicates you can step on to the senior stage, you're ready?
I see it too slightly differently. It's a great question. Ready or to become successful is two different things. Okay. Yeah. In my opinion. So there are a lot of players who are ready to play, but are they ready to be successful? So I would like to think that when we think of a player to be able to represent the national team, that we have a very good idea that he's going to be successful there, not just to have a look, just to be successful. So in terms of characteristics you asked, it's going to be, the biggest thing will be the growth mindset of that player, how much he's willing to learn to go there. Because for example, you might think someone's dominating under 19 cricket, he might think he's ready, but then the skill sets at international cricket is quite different. So then for us to say to this player, look, this is, you're dominating here, you're doing really well, but for you to get to international cricket, you need to improve on these skills. So which is quite a hard sell. But if you have the right mentality, that wanting to learn, I think then we can work with and help the player to develop into that international ready player who we have a very good idea that is going to be successful. So I don't know whether you got the answer, but
I got it well handled. But I'm sure some people will want to know, though, and I should just touch on this before we wrap up. Prior to taking this job, what made you attracted to the West Indies job? You're already in New Zealand, so what people want to know. So I should ask you, what made you attracted to applying for this job?
so I'll tell you how it happened. So it was actually around Christmas last year. I saw this job advertised, and I read the job description and straight away thought, oh, this is me.
Okay.
So that was the first thing that came to my mind. And then I remember telling that to my wife, look, I've read this, it looks like me. Yeah. But I'll be honest that when I did put my application in, I was thinking, because I didn't know anyone in Caribbean.
I was going to say, you're jumping from New Zealand straight to Antigua, right?
And I thought getting an email back saying that they've received my application was going to be a good thing for me. So I put that, and then I got an email, and there was nothing for about another 3 weeks, and then I was told that I was shortlisted. And then there was another thing I had to do. It was a big, thorough process. Went through that, and then they said, "Oh, they want to interview me." So, which was, I then thought, "Oh, Jesus, this is getting serious." So that's how it came about. But I genuinely when I saw that, I genuinely thought I could add value to cricket in West Indies, and I wanted to challenge myself. And seeing this, how exciting this project was, I wanted to take that opportunity because my family is still in New Zealand.
Right. Okay.
So, but I genuinely thought that I could actually make a difference with my experiences in West Indies.
Last one, because you've just mentioned the word experiences, so I thought, let me just touch on that. What have you noticed on your cricketing travels? And that's from you playing the game all the way through to where you are now in the coaching capacity of the game. How different is it around the world? And is it possible for those differences the kind of gap in those differences to be kind of bridged with certain developmental techniques? Or is it literally as simple as, if you've got the most money, you can make the most difference? Like, how big are those differences, particularly at age group level? I'm not talking about international men's, women's senior level, when they're early 20s, 19, 18. How big is the difference?
I think the generations have changed from when you and I was growing up, right? Now they call the Generation Z.
Yeah.
So as coaches, we need to evolve to how they think. So how we were taught or what we thought is probably not how they think. So that is probably a start from a coaching point of view, that we need to adapt to what's important to them, and then how we can support them. So that will be the approach that I will take, because they see that world differently to how you and I would have seen it. So it's about, like, for me personally, I coach to help people. And so it's not about me, it's about how I can help someone else. So that's the approach I normally take. And with my experiences, it is a very player-driven environment. In everywhere in the world, everyone wants to let the players take ownership. So that's what like not the autocratic way that we say what to do. We want them to think and develop, find the solutions themselves as cricketers. So that means we might not straight away win.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
So, but then as long as we are developing thinking cricketers, we know that they're going to be successful for a longer time because they're very self-sufficient cricketers.
I said last one, but I lied. This is the last one. This is the last one. Before we went on camera, you and I spoke much earlier in the day, and you spoke about how talent identification is also part of what you're looking at. So just touching quickly on that, following this tour, everyone's back in the Caribbean, and we have the Rising Stars competitions, age groups, 19s, 17s, etc. So just, I guess, how important is it for you to get out there now? I think it's St. Vincent. How important is it for you to just get out there and see what's beyond the academy? And because sometimes what you often find is you have something like an academy and everyone is told those are the best 15, 16, 17, how many players there are. And then you get this one or two players who somehow, for whatever reason, went through the cracks and nobody picked them up. So how important is it for you to get out there and see, actually, you missed that player there?
I think it's so important, especially in my role as the academy head coach, that I know already our high performance manager Graham West and our director of cricket Miles. They are very keen for me to go and see the talent out there, and for me also it's a great opportunity to go and meet a lot of people. I've loved to speak to the coaches who are coaching in that environment, what they see of the players and how they think, and it is so vital. I am going to be in the under-19 tournament in St. Vincent and in the under-17 tournament in Trinidad. So can't wait to go and see the exciting young talent who are representing each countries over there. Yeah, I think it's very important that we identify them. Some, as you said, some crack falls through the cracks. Some develops late.
Yes, develop later. Yeah.
So you got to have an understanding of the growth and maturation of a young cricketer. All of a sudden, you've seen in a young cricketer within a year, he's physically grown and his skills has developed. So there's a lot of things to consider. But I always will go back to the character when identifying the talent. And we are going to have a lot of West Indian cricket personnel will be in these tournaments observing talent, because we feel like we are at a really critical phase at the moment, that we're planning our succession planning and the talent identification strategy at the moment. So it's very important that we see as much players as possible, so then we can make really good a selection on players.
Listen, Ramesh, it's been absolutely fantastic to kind of chop it up with you and have a conversation. And I guess from my perspective, it was also about, for those who listen to or watch CCP, for them to get to know you a bit more. Sometimes we get people in these positions, and I always say it's important to have conversations with them so people understand the thinking, the processes, etc. Because otherwise everyone just looks at results and doesn't think about anything beyond that. So thank you very much appreciated for coming on. And ladies and gents, that's been another episode of the Caribbean Cricket Podcast. I've been Machel St. Patrick Hewitt. Tune in for more.